a little bit about what are your responsibilities as treasurer?
You know, that's a good question, and I want to say right off the bat that as I went door to door throughout the county, I was really surprised that, you know, people didn't know that there was a county treasurer necessarily. And so one of the things that I'm going to really focus on is kind of talking to people about what the treasurer does. So I appreciate that question, but you know, in essence, Tim, you know, the county treasurer is the banker for the county. Okay. And so any money that's coming in or any money that's being dispersed, including your paycheck, which is not big enough, I might add, is coming through my office. Okay. And then in addition to being the banker, you know, we have surplus funds from time to time. And so to make sure that we get a good return on our money, I act as the investor for the county. Okay. And so on a given day, we're going to be, you know, investing millions of dollars and focusing, one, on safety and making sure that we're not putting Oakland County taxpayer dollars at risk. Right. Second, on liquidity, because it's essentially a cash management function. Right. And then third, yield. And so, you know, we're not chasing after any kind of crazy investments. We're really just trying to, you know, get a few interest percentage points here or there.
Right. Now, I know how tough it is. I'm on the board of directors for the Clawson Community Credit Union, and you know, the money that we have for our depositors that hasn't gone out for loans, you know, we normally invest with other financial institutions. And, you know, a few years ago we were looking at 5 to 7% returns, and now we're looking at, you know, 1% or in that range. And, you know, it's tough, and when you have a fiduciary duty, especially to our taxpayers, you know, we're expecting a good job from you on those returns, but you also have to be careful because it's easy to be tempted to say, oh, this looks like a high return, maybe we should go for it. But, you know, sometimes you just got to be cautious.
Well, it's it really is it's a sacred responsibility, you know, that we share. I mean, you as a county commissioner managing the budget and authorizing what I do, and me as managing that money. And you know, when a taxpayer makes an investment in their county government, they need to know that that's a good investment. And I know that you are fiscally conservative and really looking after the budget and, you know, kind of holding the line on, you know, any kind of unnecessary items. But yeah, we definitely take that real seriously, and I'm very blessed to have a great staff. You know, there's a staff of 48 people. Right. A lot of them have been there for 20, 30 years, and so really lucky to have that and a good, good leadership team as well.
Yeah, is there anything that has surprised you on the job so far in your first few weeks in office?
Anything that has surprised me? That's, well, I would probably have to say that the biggest surprise came right after the election when I found out that the term didn't begin until July 1st. Right. That was probably the biggest surprise. Okay. I think, you know, I've been pleasantly surprised by the professionalism and competence of the full-time staff. Right. You know, these are people who really feel a public service mission, and I'd say that's probably been a very pleasant surprise. Right.
You know, I'm on the Parks Commission as well as the Board of Commissioners, and the Parks Commission is a 9-member panel that oversees the 13 county parks. Yeah. And we've been working on a project recently where the state has taken over some land up in Rose Township that they found out there had been some illegal dumping of pollutants, and they cleaned it up, and it's now under what's called the State Land Bank. Yeah. And they were looking at potentially transferring it over to the county for us to use in part of our trails initiative and to have some more green space. Yeah. But talking about land banks, that's kind of an initiative that you also want to do at the local level, and I've heard some great things about it taking place in Genesee County and Flint. But tell us a little bit about what you want to do for Oakland County with the land bank.
Sure. And just to define the term for the benefit of your vast viewing audience, you know, a land bank is like an incubator for sick real estate. And also for land use. And so one of the ways that people think about land banks right now is as a tool for taking foreclosed homes and rehabilitating them, maintaining them, working with the nonprofit community, working with the faith community and the private sector to get those homes back onto the market, and so they're not rotting in our neighborhoods. Right. But you know, in addition to that, the land bank can also be a very helpful tool for land use decisions. So we have this beautiful country up north in Oakland County, and we've got a sincere interest in preserving that as parks and for trails. Right. And so you could use the land bank, which is a government, quasi-governmental entity. Right. It would be set up like a Parks Commission with a board of directors and accountability from the public, and we could transfer that property into the land bank to make sure that it's for that use for generations to come.
Right. Now, you often hear people worried about, government, quote, taking or forcing people to sell property or just doing things that really seem to be against the free market interests.
Sure.
How do you address those concerns when they talk about a land bank? It can be kind of scary when people hear something like that.
Well, I think that my thought about it is this, is that, right now, we're seeing what's happening in the marketplace. In the marketplace right now, homes are rotting. Commercial properties, in everywhere from Pontiac to Troy. I mean, if you look at Troy, the old Kmart property is a perfect example. That is a primo piece of real estate. But under normal market conditions, that deal is not getting done. And so that grass is growing, that asset, the building is deteriorating. And so the premise of the land bank is simply to come in, introduce a couple of incentives. For instance, when you transfer the property into the land bank, it becomes tax exempt. Okay. So what you're doing is you're simply partnering with the private sector. You're removing barriers to the successful redevelopment. Okay. And so I see it as very consistent with market principles, and you're still leveraging the full force of the private sector, but you're just giving it a little extra nudge because, as we can see looking around the county, these development deals are not otherwise happening. Right. And in Pontiac on Telegraph, you have that Bloomfield Park that's idle, right. halfway through. And the problem with that is that those properties are not generating taxes, which is hurting important services. And also, it's a blight on our community. Right. And Oakland County is such a beautiful place. We want to keep it that way.
Exactly. So how would a land bank help create jobs for the county?
So when we transfer these parcels, whether it's a residential, commercial, or industrial parcel into the land bank doesn't do the work itself. What we would be doing is we would be looking for Oakland County contractors, maybe out-of-work auto workers who could start their own company. I'm big on entrepreneurship, and I know that's a theme that you're very committed to as well. Right. And so somebody's got to do this work. And so we would contract with Oakland County entities, and so they would be doing it, and it would be creating jobs, stimulating the economy, and protecting our property values so that you don't have a situation where property values are dropping and taxes are going up, because I know from going door to door with you in Troy and Clawson, that's something that really irks citizens, and with good reason.
Right, and exactly, and especially not just, of course we all want to have property values for the resale of our house and to ensure the equity, because that's often your biggest investment in life.
Good point.
But we also count on the services the county provides, such as the sheriff and the courts, and we had the prosecutor on a recent show. And all of those services are paid for through your property taxes. So if we don't have a core base, then we can't offer those services.
It's a very serious time, and Oakland County is going through fiscal challenges right now like it's never seen. And my belief is that doing things the old way is not working. And so the land bank is a model that has worked effectively from Martha's Vineyards to Cleveland to around the country. Right. And so it's simply a matter of finding the best practices that are working around the country and around the world and implementing them in Oakland County. And I think that's what Oakland County is about. I think innovation and prosperity are Oakland County values, and that's what this is really pushing.